Hello, everybody. All right. Yeah, I know it started a tad late there, but just only because there was a little signaling issue going on with my computer, but hopefully that was just a blip and not a major. Anyways, welcome to the mic stand. So of course, that we if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything that we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. With all that being said, and since we do seem to have some people in here, we're going to go ahead and talk about what's on tap for tonight. Um, so, of course, we're going to go over some articles and bounding into comics. Um, first off, which include Warner. There's a little bit of fear going on from DC that DC might be sold as Warner Brothers sells that they're licensing some of the IPs they have to Dynamite Comics. Tim Sheridan begs followers to purchase his Alan Scott story, his gay Alan Scott story, to stick it to the to Comicsgate. Um, the the first teaser is out for the live action adaptation of the anime Yu Yu Hakusho on Netflix. Also, and some other Netflix news here. Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Netflix film series to get a prequel comic written by ultra woke and pro transgender creator who threatened to beat people with a bat. So that's plus wrestling wrap up, and then this day needs history towards the end. So if you guys will stick around, we can probably go ahead. As always, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the articles here. Then get right into it. As I said, as we anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So here we go. Warner Brothers Discovery foments fears DC will be sold as they license Thundercats and other IPs to Dynamite Comics. Article by J.D. Augustine, published October 19th. So, who knew? DC now stands for Dynamite Comics, in quotes here. Warner Brothers Discovery is licensing out treasured characters and franchises in the vault to a DC competitor when they own the historic publisher. Dynamite will publish comics based on Thundercat, Space Ghost, and more, which has onlookers worried Warner Brothers Discovery is fixing to cut bait with their comic book arm. Now, of course, Thundercats and Space Ghost should sound familiar to all of us because, of course, many of us grew up watching the cartoons, back in the 80s with Thundercats and followed by Silverhawks, and then, Space Ghost is part of the Hanna-Barbera family of superhero comics, Space Ghost and Dino Boy most notably. So, anyways, continuing on with the article here. Quote, Dynamite Comics and Warner Brothers Discovery have partnered to release a range of new comics based on Warner Brothers intellectual properties, including Thundercats, The Flintstones, The Powerpuff Girls, Space Ghost, Johnny Quest, The Wizard of Oz, We Bare Bears, and more, unquote. So a lot of the Warner Brothers library, a lot of the classic Warner Brothers library mixed in with, some of the Cartoon Network stuff. So, um, Bleeding Fool reported on X, everybody who has predicted a grim fate for the gutted DC has taken notice. Yeah, considering that DC's been like kind of going woke, it's like, we've been hearing this saying for the last 4 or 5 years now: "Go woke, go broke." So quote, "That should have been DC. It used to be DC," unquote, wrote Neon, the co-host of Clownfish TV on X. Quote, "That's not a good sign," unquote, he added. Quote, "It means Warner Brothers is very open to shopping around its IP to different comics publishers, even though they own a major major comics publisher, in parentheses here, for now," unquote. Disney made a similar deal with Dynamite and IDW before them. Disney tested the waters with IDW and it didn't work out. The company began flailing in the wind since then and lost market share. Another X user raised important questions as to who Dynamite's books are aimed at, Gen X or younger, and how they plan on retaining that audience. Making its point with a Chris Farley meme, Neon responded, quote unquote, "No idea." Yeah. Well, I get again, if they keep pushing, if instead of focusing on writing good stories, if they try to push agendas and stuff like that, they probably will turn away a lot of people. And yeah, hello, Whitefire Comics. Um, they got so much debt, it's it's insane. They will sell their arms to make money back. Yeah, at the rate they're going, Whitefire, that they may have to start selling body parts, not just arms. um, DC might become known as Decrepit Comics. Anyways, let's see. Continuing on with the article here. There is some excitement to be had, and no one is more excited than Dynamite CEO Nick Barucci. Quote, "Warner Brothers has been at the heart of entertainment in America and across the world for an incredible 100 years, and home to so many beloved stories and franchises," unquote, he said. Quote, "We're incredibly excited to bring many of them back to comics for the first time as we work with Warner Brothers Discovery and wonderful creators to bring all new stories to the fans," unquote. Quote, projected to start publishing early in 2024 with the first title, Thundercats by Declan Shalvey, launching in February. Fans can look forward to a diverse range of stories featuring top-tier writers and gorgeous art. Some of those beloved characters have never had their own comic or graphic novel before, unquote, wrote Bleeding Fool in their full coverage. Oh, there we go. All right. Oh, that was a bit of a quickie. Still with a pretty decent sized article there. So now, of course, as I said, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So with that, why don't we go ahead and go back, get ready to move on to the next article, which, at least for this particular individual, is probably not quite as happy a situation. This Mr. Sheridan character. I know Yellow Flash covered this last week as well. So DC Comics writer Tim Sheridan begged followers to purchase gay, in smaller quotes, Alan Scott Green Lantern, unquote, unsmaller quote, series to own Comicsgate. Now, the thing, you're in trouble when you have to actually beg people to buy your comic. It's one thing to ask them to buy your comic, like we saw earlier on RJ's stream, and pitch it out there, but when you have to beg somebody, and you know that people aren't gonna like it, and to for them to own it, not because they want to enjoy the story, but begging them so they can own Comicsgate, own the haters, right? That's really a big a grand marketing scheme, isn't it? Yeah, beg your customers to stick it to your adversaries. That's a hell of a way to market. Article by John F. Trent, published back on October 19th, which is last Thursday in the comic book section here. So, DC Comics writer Tim Sheridan recently begged his followers to purchase copies of the upcoming Alan Scott The Green Lantern series in order to own Comicsgate members. Like, this line of reasoning just so silly. Silly and ridiculous. Now, for those of you who may not know or remember, okay, Alan Scott was the Green Lantern of the Golden Age. He's not really associated with the Green Lantern Corps. His powers came from the Starheart, basically, as it had been it had been refashioned into a lantern and a ring. And of course, this retcon of him being gay is very recent, because if you're fully aware of Alan Scott's Golden Age history, he actually was married twice. First to Flash, to the Golden Age Flash's nemesis Thorn, and her as Alex Florin and Rose Kenton, in which he fathered twins Jade, Jenny Lynn Hayden, and Obsidian, Todd Rice, and then later married one of his arch enemies, Molly Main, aka Harlequin. So just to kind of get you kind of caught up on all that. So let's see now. Hail Xenu and Xena, I'm late, but pray I've arrived in time. Let's see. I am not a Lantern fan. They can keep it. Yeah. Well, again, there have been DC's had many Lantern, the original Green Lantern is Alan Scott here. He was the one who was created back in the 40s there, and was the lead feature in All American Comics for starting with issue number 16. The Green Lantern Corps, the Green Lanterns of Hal Jordan and John Stewart and Guy Gardner, they're part of the Green Lantern Corps that was established in the Silver Age. So just so you know. Let's see now. Well, anyway, Sheridan made his plea on X, where he stated, "quote I'm here to ask you a favor." Again, a typo here. Ask you a favor. The book, but already the haters and the queer phobes are out in force. I hadn't heard of anybody actively campaigning against this book. They're just reporting on what's there. A lot of people are just reporting on what's there. The fact that you've decided to take an iconic character and make him queer to fulfill whatever your own views are, which is not necessarily a good idea. You're gonna basically just chase away a lot of the people who had invested in the guy. So anyways, are out in force, doing everything they can to see that this book tanks. Well, first off, I don't think anybody, as I said, I don't think anybody's actually actively trying to get this book to tank. They're just reporting on what is. All right. So, can you explain Wendy Lee's situation with Anari Kion? No, because I hadn't actually heard anything about that. I didn't even know there was a situation between the two. Quite honestly, because if you're getting that from Twitter, Kim, I don't really follow Twitter too much. So, with that, anyways, getting back, and if you guys can, of course, help out by liking and sharing the stream. There is actually, okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. Again, I'm not on Twitter, so if there's some kind of Twitter fight, I haven't seen anything of it. I don't follow that stuff, But anyways, let's see. Where were we at here? They use code and make it sound like they have legit problems with a book they haven't read yet. But the truth is, they just don't like that there is a queer hero in the upper ranks of the DCU, unquote. Well, that's not exactly true. It's not that nobody's ever had an issue with a queer hero. We've had them before. We've had Kate Kane, Renee Montoya. That's not the issue. The issue is taking established characters with established histories and making changes to them, whether you're race swapping them, orientation swapping them, gender swapping them, whatever, to fit your narrative or to, that's the issue. Well, the only way we can shut these people down is to make this book an undeniable success, unquote, he continued. Quote, the only way to prove to the big publishers that there's a huge market for authentic stories about LGBTQIA plus characters, and these stories are for everyone, is to buy the heck out of books like this, unquote. Now, here's the thing. If the book was that great to begin with, you wouldn't need to beg people to buy it, right? If the book was that, to hide behind, people hate it because we've turned Alan Scott, gay. Again, pushing agendas is never an idea. The whole idea of go woke, go broke applies here. But you're really, Mr. Sheridan here, you're really showing just how incredibly stupid you are, because it's like how incredibly foolish you are. Because if this book was so great, and if, trying to push the whole, representation argument, then you would think that a lot of the queer comic book fans would be buying it locks it. You wouldn't have to beg people to buy it. Because if the book was that great, the story was that great, you wouldn't have to really be sitting there begging people to buy it. Let's see. And Kim's got a couple more things here to say. So, LSS, Wendy Lee was petty and bitter towards modern generation voice actors, such as Anari, etc. Has to do with the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War dub. Well, again, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'll probably watch it sometime down the road. Again, I haven't heard anything about it, but if something does come up here, I will report on it. Maybe, again, though, if this is just one of those little Twitter spats, it's like, okay, I kind of get what you're saying too. It's kind of one of those things where probably one of those things where you got an older voice, you got it's a generational thing basically, where you got somebody from the older generation of voice actors who's, as you said, better towards the younger, because now it's their time to shine. And even though Wendy Lee, aside from, of course, doing voice acting, has also been a dub director as well. So no one would buy even great stories unless they are advertised. Otherwise, how would anyone know? Well, the thing is, the Jr. the this book that we're talking about here, actually, it's been covered quite a bit over the last few months because there's been the whole idea of there have been a number of people. I've covered articles on it. I know Ethan Van Sciver's talked about it. Yellow Flash has talked about it. A number of commentators have been talking about this. Because there were, again, as part of the whole, we need to diversify, we need to turn a lot of these iconic characters into billboards for our causes. That's their mindset. So, anyways, I'll get back to the article, and thank you for whoever did give me another like and share there. But anyways, getting back to but again, as I said, though, it kind of looks silly if you have to actually beg people to buy your book. Okay, it's silly. Sheridan went on, quote, "This one's only 6 issues and each one has a few variants. So I'm asking if you have the means, buy them, buy extras. Give to people you think really need to read it," unquote. Oh yeah, that's really gonna work. Yeah, let's start pushing this comic on people unsolicited, and chances are the people that they may not want to read it, and if you're trying to force it on them, that's just gonna make them not want to read it that much more. Brilliant plan there, Mr. Sheridan. He then claimed that he would not pocket any additional profits from an assumed increase in sales from his pitch. Quote, "And you might say this sounds like a great way for Tim Sheridan to make a bundle of royalties. Well, no, I won't make a penny because every single royalty I receive from these 6 issues will go straight to a charity that is very important to me and I'd support for a long time, the Elton John AIDS Foundation, which works to prevent HIV stigma and provide compassionate care for all communities." So, "I am asking you to join the Corps," unquote. He begged. Quote, "If you care about truth and justice, about shining a light in the darkness, if you think comics are and should continue to be for everyone, or if you just want to force these comic geek trolls back under the bridge they crawled out from, please support our book." Unquote. First, as I said, first off, I don't think anybody's actively trying to trash. I don't think people are actively trying to tank this book. I think they're just simply reporting on what is. And of course, they don't like it because, now a lot of people, again, as we've seen, at any time you try to push an agenda, you end up falling flat on your face, and then trying to further that by trying to, well, let's stick it to Comicsgate. It's silly. It's silly. It's ridiculous. It is weird times in that sense. Yep, I am old school. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I think most of us here are old school. They're Whitefire. Um, yeah, I mean, I invite you to come check out my historical comic retrospective on Friday, where we go over the older comics. We're like working our way through books that went on sale back in December 1939. So if you're really old school that way, you might like those too. Um, they sound better. They sound bitter. Yeah, Sheridan does sound kind of bitter. But then a lot of the establishment, a lot of the mainstream comic writer. I mean, you got to remember, these are this is the same group of people. You had Kelly Sue DeConnick, right? A few years ago, I think what was it, about 2 or 3 years ago? Basically, in an interview, basically tell her potential customers, well, if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. And then when they actually take her up on her word, she and her husband, Matt Faction or Fraction, whatever his name is, they in another interview, they kind of start to sit there and whine, well, why isn't anybody buying our book? Could it be because you told them not to if they didn't care for your politics? Can't have it both ways, Ah. Anyways, continue on with the article here. Quote, and send a message that the bullying and the lies and the hate have to stop. Again, I don't think anybody's bullying them. I don't think anybody's lying. They're just reporting on what is. You just don't like the results. He said, quote, everyone deserves to see themselves in comics. Everyone needs allies. And that's not even a legit point, because there have been a number of characters that have been somewhat either creative or steered towards. Now, granted, like there are some characters that were introduced through the DCAU, through like Batman, Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, characters like Harley Quinn, like Renee Montoya, like Livewire. Not that Livewire they made her gay or anything like that, but there are these characters who, when they were brought to the books, and particularly in the case of Harley Quinn and Renee Montoya, they actually did eventually, when they brought them into the comic, did make them gay. There's also Maggie Sawyer, who was introduced in the Superman animated series. Superman the animated series cartoon, and when she was brought into the comic, she was also made gay. Now, and even back in those times, that there were in some of those cartoons, there were while there was never anything explicit in any of the situations, they did kind of drop little hints in there that even in the DCAU, hinting that there was a possibility they were hinting that they were gay, but nobody's got. It's not an issue of being against LGBTQIA plus, or they are being against LGBTQIA plus characters. The issue here is taking established characters with established histories and turning them into something that they traditionally not been, just so you can push an agenda. It's like it's a form of brainwashing, really, is what it is. See, the reason why they don't like the idea, why they've stopped the idea of creating original characters to fulfill this stuff, is because the idea is it's a lot easier to kind of get their message out and make it more appealing or acceptable if they can say, oh, Superman's gay, Robin's gay, Green Lantern's gay. It's like Iceman's gay, You see, with a newer character, people may not. Hey, Rick, I see you there. Welcome to the stream. As always, if you guys haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything here we talk about grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will go ahead and I'll go ahead and try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. But as I was saying here, it's not that people are against the alphabet, the alphabet community, LGBTQIA plus community. It's not that. People wouldn't have a problem if they were just creating new characters and trying to pitch it that way. But they know they won't have as much success because the name recognition is not there. It's a lot easier with legacy characters, with established characters, to push their agenda to basically make it sound cool, make it seem cool, right? So the problem is they can't create a new character with traction, so they got to change the old. Exactly. That's exactly right. Right, Whitefire. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, hi, Rick. How are you doing? Place lined up for November. Okay, so I guess you're staying at my cousin's, and I'm doing it. All right. So, anyways, getting back to but Whitefire, you were right there. That's 100% correct. The newer characters can't, particularly with this generation of writers right here, because obviously back in the 90s, early 2000s, we did have some creators who did create, who did actually legitimately create some pretty notable gay characters, as I mentioned, Harley Quinn and Renee Montoya and Maggie Sawyer. And they did it in a way that wasn't going to turn fans away. They did it in a way that wasn't going to, that wasn't like trying to stick it in the face of fans or Comicsgate or whatever, But yeah, that's 100% correct. The new characters can't gain traction, so they have to change the old ones to try to push their agenda and make it sound cool. So, anyways, quote, and okay, and we saw that. He said, quote, okay, and we saw that. Everyone needs allies, and if you're an ally, now is the time to step up. We outnumber them. I doubt that. Press X to down on that. I doubt very seriously if they really outnumber people who support Comicsgate and a more traditional view of societal values. So let's pool our power, vote with our wallets, and beat the rear ends. Unquote. Quote. And as many of these 4 variant covers for Alan Scott the Green Lantern to your pull list, or add as many of these 4 variant covers for Alan Scott the Green Lantern to your pull list today. Pick them up in store next week, Tuesday, the 24th. Thank you so much. Unquote. He included. So the book comes out tomorrow. In a subsequent, okay, so basically, here's the thing. If your book is so great and it's one of those things that people are going to buy, you shouldn't have to beg. I mean, that just shows your own insecurity, Mr. Sheridan. You have to beg people to buy your book. That shows your insecurity. All right. So, in a subsequent post on X, he wrote, quote, in parentheses here, for you innocents wondering what CG is, they're a hateful group of misogynist, queerphobic, racist rear ends who actually work to take down comics with any hint of diversity. No, they don't. They deserve a big loss. That would be the L I mentioned, unquote. No, they're just for putting out good stories and not pushing agendas. Um, anyways, we'll well, Harley is more bi than gay. Yeah. Mm. All right, and he is for the like. See, well, this guy certainly only knows the party line about CG and uh, Ness, or guess he meant to write never there. Done a second of research. No, he didn't. He's just another corporate. He's just another mainstream drone. Just marching like goose step into the same rhetoric. A leaked page from the upcoming series, obtained by Superhero Hype, appears to depict FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover blackmailing Alan Scott into not only joining the fledgling Justice Society of America, but also into sexual escapades with himself. The page shows Hoover intimidating Scott with a photo of himself and another man in a homosexual embrace. Not only does it show Hoover blackmailing Scott, but Hoover also informs him, quote, "Oh, also we're having a little get together in Forest Hills this weekend. You'll come, Clyde. You'll come. Clyde will give you the details on your way out. And Alan, um, bring the combat boots," unquote. Clyde is most likely a reference to real-life former FBI Associate Director Clyde Tolson, which biographers and historians have debated was Hoover's longtime homosexual lover. For instance, Richard Hack, in his biography Puppet Master, asserts that Hoover was not a homosexual, but Anthony Summers, in his official and confidential The Secret Life of J. Edgar Hoover book, claims that he was a homosexual. Again, there's probably no clear-cut evidence either way, because back then, of course, many, for those who were homosexual, weren't. It's not like today where they can just scream it from the top building tops. He told ABC News, quote, he was a sadly repressed individual. Most people, even J. Edgar Hoover, let go on occasion. Sheridan denies that Hoover and Scott have relations in the series. He wrote on X, quote, "I can't believe I even have to post this, but no, Alan and Scott did not have sex with J. Edgar Hoover in our book, out, in parentheses, out October 24th. Star Hoover blackmails GL into working more closely with the JSA. Unstarred. Yes, Hoover is creepy, but so are the the rear ends posting misleading BS to keep you from reading. He added, quote, and not to spoil anything, but just to, well, as I've been hearing it, I don't think they've ever said that, you know, I think it's implied. I think most people have indicated it's implied he blackmails them into sex. Okay? He may not have, or may not on panel, anyways. He may not have sex with J. Edgar Hoover, but he implied. I think that was what that last comment was. That last part of the statement there. Let's see. They're bringing this to the main Alan Scott. It was bad enough when they did to the Earth 2 version 10 or so years ago. Yeah. Let's see. Even clearer, Hoover tries, in asterisk there, I guess, to blackmail GL, tries, in parentheses, Hoover trying to blackmail a prominent figure with compromising intel unheard of. While it's unclear at this point if the book will leave open the question on whether or not Hoover was blackmailing Scott into sexual relations, which, again, I think everybody who's commented on this has basically said that it was implied that he was trying to blackmail him into sex. I think nobody's actually outright said it, that he did blackmail him. I think they've indicated he implied it. Preview page, let's see. Preview pages obtained by Bleeding Cool do show Scott engaging in sodomy with another man while in the army in 1936. Not only does it depict Alan Scott engaging in sodomy, but it mocks God with Scott's homosexual partners, stating, quote, hey, if God himself didn't want me to love you, then how could I? And why would he make me look so good in the ring? Unquote. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Well, I know Rick and many other Christians would probably have something to say about that statement. Ah. These questions show a clear lack of understanding of Christian theology and teaching as well, as I just mentioned. The Catechism of the Catholic Church states, quote, but why did God not prevent the first man from sinning? St. Leo the Great responds, in small quotes, Christ's inexpressible grace gave us blessings better than those the demon's envy had taken away, unsmall quote. And St. Thomas Aquinas wrote, in smaller quotes here, there is nothing to prevent, and apparently there's another typo there, human nature's being raised up to something greater even after sin. God permits evil in order to draw forth some greater good. Thus, St. Paul says, quote, where sin increased, grace abounded. All the more, small quote. And the exalted sings, in smaller quotes, oh, happy fault that earned so great, so glorious a redeemer, unquote. And the act of sodomy is indeed a sin. In fact, it's one of the quote sins that cry to heaven, unquote. The Catechism states, quote, the catechetical tradition also recalls that there are sins that cry to heaven, unquote. The blood of Abel, the sin of the Sodomites. See, we get the word sodomy from Sodom and Gomorrah. When the angels came to visit Lot to tell him and his family to escape Sodom, and the men of Sodom wanted to have their way with the angels. That's where we get the word sodomy from. So, the cry of the people oppressed in Egypt, the cry of the foreigner, the widow, and the orphan, injustice to the wage earner, unquote. What do you make of Sheridan begging his followers to boost sales for this piece of propaganda? Yeah, he sounds bitter and desperate. Is what he sounds like. And I think at least some people in here would agree, if not all. He somewhat sounds, as I said, bitter and bitter and anyways, getting ready to move on to the next article here. As I said, we're going to do 4 articles. That one was yeah, has this guy never heard of free will? Lots of people choose to do stuff God doesn't want them to. That's true, Rick. Kind of reminds me of something I always say, and something that even some Christian friends of mine have kind of pointed out is even from the Bible, where as human beings we can justify any behavior, good, bad, or indifferent. So, how did last night go? It went all right. We ran a little short because um, we went through our topics pretty quickly. So, but with that, anyways, now continue on with the next article here. All right, so for the anime fans out there, Netflix enters the spirit world, drops first teaser footage for upcoming live-action Yu Yu Hakusho series. Article by Spencer Piccoli, published October 19th, which was last Thursday. With the recent work on One Piece, no doubt bolstering hopes for the fellow Shonen Jump project, Netflix has officially provided a first look at their soon-to-debut live-action adaptation of Yoshihiro Togashi's classic manga, Yakusho. I remember I watched the anime, probably my all-time favorite anime. It's a pretty good story. This first glimpse at this latest take on Yusuke Urameshi's time as a spirit detective was unveiled by Netflix in a teaser trailer for the upcoming 2023 entry of their annual, smaller quotes, Geeked Week preview event. Therein included a montage of other titles, and awkwardly sandwiched between mentions of Squid Game, The Challenge, and the original dark comedy series, The Brother Sun, was an exceptionally brief shot of the aforementioned Yusuke as portrayed by live-action Tokyo Revengers film series star Takumi Kitamura, standing amidst a Tokyo city street. Given the presence of emergency services gawking bystanders and Yusuke's own seeming obliviousness to the chaos around him. It's likely that the footage was taken from around the time the hero's revival as a ghost, following his self-sacrificing but ultimately unnecessary attempt to save a young child, who, in a fun Easter egg, is implied to be the titular protagonist from Captain Tsubasa, a la Matt Murdock's relation to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from being hit by a moving car. While details concerning Netflix's Yu Yu Hakusho are still relatively scarce, though that will undoubtedly change following the conclusion of Netflix's Geek Week, it is known that alongside Kitamura, the series will also star Shuhei Uesugi, um, in parentheses, man in business suit in Shin Kamen Rider, unparenthesed, as the brash Kazuma Kuwabara, Jun Shizun from Right Suzuki TOK, One Go in Resha Sentai Toker, as the road whip wielding Yoko Karama, and Kanata Hongo, who was Armin in the live action Attack on Titan film series, as fan favorite Master of the Evil Eye Jaganishi Hiei. Further, Netflix asserted in an October 11th press release that, quote, utilizing a unique global one-team production strategy that spanned both Japan and the United States, the same approach to adapt the acclaimed One Piece manga, in brackets we, took the same level of commitment to quality and authenticity in the live-action One Piece to the production of Yu Yu Hakusho. So, an international dream team was also assembled to bring the epic tale to the screen, tapping into the most advanced CG and VFX technologies from around the world. They continued, quote, known as the most innovative VFX studio in the world, unquote, and lauded for their work on major Hollywood productions, Scanline VFX was instrumental in giving life to all the characters, both human and yokai spirits, in parentheses there, while delivering realistic battle action sequences, unquote. Let's see now. We still have 4 people viewing, so that's good. Quote, taking 5 years to complete the production of Yu Yu Hakusho, the team painstakingly ensured that the subtleties of every character's emotions were accurately depicted in the adaptation, unquote. Netflix included, quote, the fusion of state-of-the-art technology and a passion for staying true to the source material promises to make this adaptation a standout in the world of live-action anime, which we hope they will stay true to the source material. I'm hoping that with One Piece's success, the studios will start to realize that trying to push agendas is not a good thing to do. At current, Netflix's Geek Week will take place from November 6th through the 12th. Meanwhile, per Netflix's a four-sided press release, Netflix as Yu Yu Hakusho is currently on track to join Land of the Living on December 14th. Alrighty then. So there we go with that article. And I believe it's all here. Mm-hmm. And of course, we will get to the last article here in a moment. There we go. That's going to be the last one we do for tonight. Okay. Let's see. So, Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Netflix film series to get prequel comics from ultra woke and pro transgender creator who threatened to beat people with a bat. Article by John F. Trent, published October 20th. So, Zack Snyder announced that his upcoming Rebel Moon Netflix film series will receive a prequel comic series to be published by Titan Comics and written by Brian Visaggio, who claims to be a woman and uses the name Mags Visaggio. Snyder made the announcement on X, where he wrote, quote, excited to announce that the Rebel Moon universe is expanding beyond the with a prequel comic series. Okay, I think there was a little bit of a typo there. He added, quote, issue 1 of Rebel Moon, House of the Blood Axe, will be published by Titan Comics on January 10th, 2024, and available wherever comics are sold, unquote. In a press release, Titan Comics revealed that the prequel series will be a, quote, 4-part comic series written by Eisner-nominated Mags Visaggio with art by Clark Bent and colors from Francesco Segala, unquote. The first issue is expected to feature a number of variant covers from Stanley Art Germ Lau, quote unquote, Rafael Albuquerque, Baldemar Rivas, Andrea Olimpiera, and Bent. As for the story, the official description states, quote, set 5 years before the events depicted in Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire, the comic House of the Blood Axe provides backstory for the characters of Deborah and Darian Bloodaxe, leaders of a band of outlaw revolutionaries played by Cleopatra Coleman and Ray Fisher. So I guess Deborah's a woman, I guess, and their formidable family's history, unquote. It continues, quote, as war is looming on the horizon on the planet Shatsu, the leader of the Blood Axe family is conflicted between living up to his father's domineering legacy and maintaining the peace. It is up to him to settle the conflict within himself and his family before the entire planet erupts in war, unquote. That sounds like a pretty gritty tale there. Um, let's see. Interestingly, the press release also declares this 4-issue prequel series as, quote, essential reading for anyone who wants to know more about the rich and expansive lore of the Rebel Moon universe, unquote. It does note that while Visaggio is writing the comic, the story comes from Snyder. Quote, with an original story from Zack Snyder himself, the comic carries the same levels of drama, action, and high emotional stakes that the director is known for, unquote. Snyder stated, quote, I'm excited to collaborate with Mags to explore the rich and complex backstory of the Blood Axe siblings. In Rebel Moon, House of the Blood Axe, fans will get to discover their motivation, as well as the genesis of the rebellion, unquote. Okay, I think here, so this says here, Visaggio described the series. I think they meant to type in described series. It quote, it's all extremely personal family conflict with its patriarch who is in conflict with himself at a moment when they need to be united. It's a story about failure and the consequences of failure, unquote. Visaggio previously threatened to beat people not exhibiting disordered sexual behavior with a bat. Beat people not exhibiting. Um, let's see. He wrote on Twitter back in 2017, so 6 years ago, quote, so we lick our wounds, but then we spike our bats. We rise against and we fight the bleep back. We will fight back. Trans women started Stonewall. We know how to throw bricks. And we are done being victims. Well, the only problem with taking that attitude is that's just going to increase the violence back against you. It was Martin Luther King who said, violence begets violence. So if you strike back at those who are striking you down, they're just going to strike back that much harder and longer. And then things are going to turn from assault and battery to something much, much worse. So keep that in mind if you're gonna start taking baseball back, start taking this ad. If the only bleeping response to the torrents of abuse we get is to raise our fist to our chins and in small words, throw the punch, by God we will. I am done with this. So bleep you, bleeping cis rear ends, bleep your BS. Get ready for a baseball bat to the teeth. Well, then you should probably get ready for baseball bats, knives, guns, because basically what's happening. All you're gonna do is just escalate the violence, and you're gonna end up losing even more. As Martin Luther King said, violence begets violence. As Snyder noted in his post on X, the book arrives in comic shops on January 10th. January 10th, 2024. So, anyways, so that's all we have for the articles tonight, of course. So we'll go right into the wrestling wrap up here. And there have been a few notes over the weekend. Also, of course, Impact had its Bound for Glory pay-per-view on Saturday, and also also had their Hall of Fame inductions and made a big announcement. Let's see. And this weekend, even though I didn't note it in this weekend, the NWA will be having its Samhain show this Saturday. So, from the WWE front, LA Knight's gotten a bit of an advocate for him winning the unified the WWE and Universal titles, as Booker T has recently been commenting, saying that he believes that that LA Knight should actually defeat Roman Reigns at next Saturday's Crown Jewel event in Saudi Arabia, as LA Knight is slated to take on Roman Reigns there. Albeit the WWE has insisted that they plan on keeping the belt on Reigns at least through WrestleMania, at least until WrestleMania, with the possibility of having it even beyond to break Hulk Hogan's record. for longest reign. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. Well, they should have a feud. Yeah, I mean, LA Knight, aka Eli Drake, ever since coming into the WWE, he's become hot. He's become white hot. A lot of commentators feel that and he's at that point in his career where I think he's like 40, 41. So if they are going to put a major title on him, this is the time for him to have that major title. Because it's usually around 40 when the guy's career starts to wind up. Now, granted, we recently heard Sting was retiring, at 2024's AEW's Revolution, which is I guess a few weeks before his 65th birthday. But yeah, Reigns is so part-time. Yeah. I mean, well, they did that with Brock Lesnar too. They allowed him to hold on to the title. I mean, of course, the WWE has had a history of just basically just spitting in the face of tradition, right? Because traditionally, of course, there's always been the idea of you should defend your title at least once every 30 days, and WWE's just kind of thrown that whole concept out the window with this bit. So, anyways, now AEW had a bit of an event this last Saturday as well. After Collision, of course, they had the Battle of the Belts. Now, here's the thing about the Battle of the Belts, though, and I know a lot of people had a lot of negative to say. There are some people, including myself, that just don't feel that it's being handled the right way. So on the Battle of the Belts, Battle of the Belts 8, 4 title matches. In this case, all 4 champions retained. So Orange Cassidy retained over John Silver. Samoa Joe. So Orange Cassidy retained the international title over John Silver. Samoa Joe retained the World Television title over Tony Nese. Chris Statlander retained the TBS title over Willow Nightingale, and then of course Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed retained the World Trios title over the former members of the JAS, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. Now, a lot of people are critical because the battle, with something like Battle of the Belts, you should at least have at least one title change, to make it interesting, right? Even if it's a short title reign, I mean, they could have had a couple of title changes there, maybe with the 6-man title and the international title, set a couple matches up for Full Gear, because right now they still only have one match signed for Full Gear on November 18th, which is MJF defending the AEW World Title against Jay White. Now, of course, MJF will be taking on Juice Robinson on Wednesday's Dynamite for a possession of the Dynamite Diamond Ring. MJF, of course, has been the only winner of the winning it 4 times. So basically, and then Hikaru Shida will also be defending the AEW Women's Championship against Ruby Soho. So but basically, if you're gonna have something like Battle of, from what I understand, from what I've heard from people, I guess the first one was good. but ever since it hasn't been as good. Probably because they haven't really had any title changes happen on Battle of the Belts. I mean, it makes no sense not to have a title change. John Silver needs to go. He is holding back Reynolds. I think both guys are actually pretty talented. I've seen they look good as a team. It's just that, again, and this is kind of the problem. This is kind of the problem AEW and the WWE are having right now too. Is that their rosters are too full. Their rosters are just too full. They have too many people that are trying to divide time again. And some guys who are like really talented, it's like, I think Silver and Reynolds are getting put into a position, and along with Evil Uno, they're getting into almost a position where they're kind of becoming good hands, as it were, right? They're becoming jobbers to the stars, and if they're not careful, those who are formerly in the JAS, guys like Jake Hager, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker, and Anna Jay, slightly lesser degree, they're gonna get stuck with that too. I mean, so anyways, that's all of the AEW news I have for you. Now to Bound for Glory. Now, of course, Bound for Glory on the pre-show, on the countdown show, you had 3 new inductees into the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame. You had Tracy Brooks, the original Knockout, inducted. You also had the broadcast duo of Mike Tenay and the late Don West inducted into their Hall of Fame. Also, there was an announcement made over the weekend at Bound for Glory as well, in which starting in January's Hard to Kill pay-per-view, they will be reverting back to the TNA name, Total Nonstop Action. And according to many sources, a lot of this is due for a number of reasons, one of which most people prefer the name, despite the juvenile connotation, because of what TNA has also, also implies. But more people, not just fans, but their business partners, also like TNA Total Nonstop Action as opposed to Impact Wrestling. As the company has gone through a few ownership changes over the years, they've gone through a few name changes. Now with Anthem Sports, now they're starting in January here at Hard to Kill. They're going to revert back to the Total Nonstop Action branding, TNA branding. So with that, let's go back and look over. Let me go back to look over the results of the and go over the results of the show. Actually, also on the pre-show, as I understand it, on the countdown show, MK Ultra retained the Knockouts tag titles over Deonna Purrazzo and Tasha Steelz. Now on the show itself, Chris Sabin retained the X Division title over Kenta. PCO outlasted Moose, Rhino, and Steve Macklin in the Monsters Ball 4-way match. ABC, in the only title change of the night, ABC, Ace Austin, and Chris Bay defeated the Rascals. Will Ospreay, who will be a part of the Impact Impact's British tour kind of this weekend. He defeated Mike Bailey, Speedball Mike Bailey. Jordan Grace outlasted 19 other competitors in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. And with that, also saw the debut of Sonny Kiss, formerly of AEW in Impact Wrestling. Matt Cardona made his return to Impact Wrestling, as well as Juventud Guerrera made his return. Trinity retained the Impact Knockouts World title over Mickey James, and Alex Shelley retained the Impact World title over Josh Alexander. So that's all the Impact news going on. Now, also going on to some NWA news, as I just remembered this. So this weekend, this Saturday, the NWA will be holding its Samhain pay-per-view. As the main event, of course, that was signed for that has EC3 defending NWA and EC3, who had defeated Tyrus at the 75th anniversary show for the NWA World Title, will be defending that title against Tom Latimer, who basically cashed in his basically cashed in his basically he basically turned in the world television title. His lucky seven. He basically exercised his lucky 7 option after having 7 successful title defenses of the world television title. He'll be taking on EC3 for the NWA World's Heavyweight title in a no limits match. Tom Latimer will have Camille in his corner. Kenzie Page will be defending the World Women's title against Ruthie J. Colby Corino defends the World Junior Heavyweight title against Joe Alonzo in a pillar-to-post match. In a Medieval Knights of the Round Table, which I'm guessing is just a variant of the tables match, Blunt Force Trauma with Aaron Stevens in their corner will defend the NWA World Tag Team titles against Knox and Murdoch, Mike Knox and Trevor Murdoch. Pretty Empowered of Ella Envy and Kylie Page defend the NWA World Women's Tag Team title against Natalia Markova and Taylor Rising. In a Rock and Roll Tag Team match, the Headbangers will be making their former NWA World Tag Team champions. The Headbangers will be making their NWA debut here in this current incarnation against the Southern Six duo of Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton. In a submission match, Jax Dane takes on Blake Troop in a battle of the former Savages members. In a 6-man tag team riddle box match, the brothers of Funstruction, Rufo and Yabo the Clown with Violent J, take on two-time former NWA World Tag Team champions La Rebellion with Vampiro. For the NWA National Heavyweight title in a Burning Lake Brawl match, Silas Mason defends against former National Heavyweight Champion Chris Adonis. And the start of the show in a Devil's Last Dance Ultimate Hardcore Team War match will pit Gadza Gimp, Koa Laksamana, and the team of Magnum Muscle of Dak Draper and TV champ Mims, along with Sala Powell, against Alex Misery, Judas, the team of Magic Incorporated of Cody James and Jake Dumas, and Maxie Impaler. Now, mind you here, as I understand the stipulation for this match, if Gag's team loses, at the very least, I believe Gags and Sal Lapau will have to basically sign their name in blood and sign themselves back over to James Mitchell. So that's what's going on this weekend. So that's all for the wrestling wrap up. So now, with all that being said, now it's time to take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So, anyways, in 2013. So we only have 2 items tonight for this day in Nietzsche history. Today being Monday, October 23rd, 2023. Let's take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. So first off, and going back 40 years ago today, Georgia the NWA affiliate, Georgia Championship Wrestling, held its last Battle of Atlanta event. Which was basically in the the double main event, as they were both steel cage matches. There was one steel cage match in which Tommy Rich defeated Buzz Sawyer, in which Tommy Rich had in which this ended their 18-month feud that they'd been having. And in the other main event, Ole Anderson defeated Paul Ellering. At this time, Paul Ellering was still wrestling part-time while managing the Road Warriors, also in a steel cage match. Speaking of the Road Warriors, as they defended the NWA National Tag Team titles in a match against Jimmy Valiant and Pez Whatley that went to a double DQ. The Great Kabuki with Gary Hart in his corner defeated Ronnie Garvin. And for the NWA National Heavyweight title, that match went to a no contest in a match between champion Brett Wayne and under Jake Roberts. In a match versus match, Mr. Wrestling 2 defeated Bob Roop. And then you also had Bruno Sammartino Jr., a.k.a. David Sammartino, defeat Pat Rose, and Les Thornton defeat Joe Lightfoot. So on this date, 40 years ago today, the last Battle of Atlanta took place in Atlanta, at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia. And 10 years ago today, in 2013, on this date in 2013, the first issue of Pretty Deadly from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2013. Sold for $3.50 for 32 pages. So on this date, 10 years ago today, Pretty Deadly from Image Comics. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I'm glad most of you stuck around for the majority. So we decided to go a little long tonight because we went kind of short last night. So I decided to go a little longer tonight. Try to even things out a bit. We're back here with more Nietzsche news tomorrow, so I hope to see everybody back here then. Also, don't forget this Friday will be our weekly look back at comics history, as we will be, this week we'll be going over books that went on sale from Hillman Comics. Be looking at we'll be looking at Miracle Comics Volume 1 Issue 1 and Rocket Comics Volume 1 Issue 1. Tim Olson will be my co-host, so you guys might want to check that out. And of course, don't forget to check the community board for my channel as well. for updates and all that. I did this morning put kind of a list of what we'll be covering, when we'll be covering stuff for January of 1940, starting in December there. So you guys will want to probably check that out. And with that, I hope to see everybody back here tomorrow. Bye.